but e-buggy pays the bills. Welcome to the No Name RC podcast. Get ready for some serious bench racing. But be warned, we speak our minds, express our thoughts, and sometimes things can get a little rowdy.
Hate, and he just was influenced by the hate coming from the left, the hate coming from the right.
And let's get back to more club racing and less of this grabbing racing.
It's hard not to be arrogant when you're always right. You know?
See what I mean? That's exactly why people call you arrogant, Max.
You may not agree with everything we say, but it's definitely worth a listen.
And our pick, can you stop whatever you're doing?
Join your host, Lefty the Great, with co-hosts and guests as they get together to chat RC.
Hey, after that race that I watched this morning, I have to talk about it.
Here we go. $100 right here, $100 throw. Oh no!
I like this.
Yes, indeed. Nitro's the glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 288 of the No Name RC podcast. I'm your host, Keno White, aka Lefty the Great, and joining me is Middleman Max and a special co-host this weekend. Never been on the podcast. It was a great chat with him, Mr. Kart Coach Wenger. We want to thank him for his time as we talk all about Nitro this weekend, which is the 2024 ONROAD Nationals. But before we do that, we got to say some thank yous, some happy birthdays, and we even have a mail call this week on the No Name RC podcast. First off, a big thank you to all of the NNRC squad around the world. Without you guys, we can't do this. We greatly appreciate you guys' support over these last 288 episodes over 5 years of doing this now. I think in our 6th year now. We greatly appreciate you guys' support. Without you guys, none of this is possible. Also, a big shout out to our YouTube members as well as our NNRC patrons. You guys will get early release of this podcast. If you wish to support the podcast a little bit further, you can. Links for our Patreon and YouTube members are in the written description of this podcast. Also, we can't do this without sponsors. Thank you, everybody that supports our sponsors, and thank you to these companies that support us. If you wish to find, save some money, coupon codes, affiliate links, all that type of stuff, you can find all of that in the written description. And a big thanks to these sponsors. Remember, they showing to sponsor some love, shows the podcast some love. They are Invisible Speed, High Tech RC, Corsatec USA, Sidewinder Fuel, Mayako, Beach RC, Tekno Rc, Clinic RC, Stacked RC, Racecraft USA, Elite RC Productions, and Donathan RC. Remember, showing the sponsors some love shows the podcast some love. So as I said, we just had the 2024 Raw 1/8 scale Fuel Nationals up there at HRCR in Hayden, Idaho. It was a great event. The coverage was great. A big congratulations to Ryan Maifoeld, Tekno Rc, and J Concepts, Fly Sky, all of Ryan's sponsors. Ryan sweeping the Nationals, giving Tekno their first Nitro Buggy National Title. I know they've been after that for quite a long time, so big congratulations to him, Matt Walter, Daniel Lewis, everybody there at the Tekno team and the entire Tekno team. They had a great weekend at the Nationals. A big shout out to the HRCR crew. Track was impeccable. It was beautiful. I liked it. It was exciting. It was challenging. So it was a good event, I think. A big shout out to Live RC. They did a very good job of covering it. It was great to watch. I kind of just chilled out all weekend. Usually I'm really hyped up around the Nationals, but I took kind of a little bit of a staycation last week. Had my kids and kind of just chilled out it was very hot here. So I just kind of chilled out and watched it. We're just going to recap the Raw Nationals with Max and Kurt this weekend. We're going to do, Max and I will get together next week after he comes back from his race, and we're going to do some RC news and catch up and all of that stuff next weekend on the next podcast. But we got some birthdays to say hello to and happy birthday to. So before we move on to our mail call, we got a mail call. I believe it's from Carl RC. So we got some birthdays here this week. I want to say, well, today's birthday as I'm recording is Phil Matthews. Long time no see, Phil Matthews. Big shout out and happy birthday to Matthew Grimes. Night no Aspire, man. Long time no see, man. I hope you're doing well. Hit me up. Gary Gemma, Jared Roberts, Mr. Sherman, Tom Sherman. Happy birthday to you, sir. Good friend of mine. I hope you are well. I hope you're doing some RC stuff and having a few cool ones. Happy birthday, Joe Scaramel. Happy birthday, Joao Doras. Happy birthday, man. Zake Ballinger, happy birthday to you. Matthew Aiko, happy birthday, Vicky Newland. Good friend of mine, and thank you for all the support. Happy birthday to you. I hope you enjoyed that. And my good friend Dale Roberts and badass boat racer and RC racer, happy birthday to you as well. If I did miss your birthday, I do apologize for that. We try to do as much as we can as possible. All right, so I'm going to do our mail call before we get into the raw recap, raw 1/8 scale fuel recap. And this is a package that I got last week. It was sent to me by Carl RC. So thank you to Heath for all the support. Let's bring it up here. So here we got the package. We're going to get all fancy. Thank you, Heath, for the support. Lefty's also been working on the studio here. We got a switcher and all that stuff. So let's unbox this package sent to me by Carl RC for all your RC cleaning needs. Now, if you're a company and you wish to send us something here to unbox during a podcast and promote your product, let us know. We have a freight forwarding address in America that you can send it to, and we can unbox your product here, right here on the podcast. Maybe if you're in Europe, you can send one to Max, and he can unbox it out there. But let's see what Heath sent me. He sent me quite a lot of stuff. Usually when Heath sends me, he sends me a pretty heavy package. So there we can go. We're opening it up. We got some hide wipes. He sent me a little package of sample wipe. So that must be a new type of hide wipe. I just used them. We got some decals here. I know he did send me a one of those new vacuums and blowers. Here's some of his Dragon decals that he has. Let's see if you guys can see him out there as I face him out there. So let's get these out of here. Oh, by the way, everybody, we do have a affiliate link for Carl RC. I think it's NNRC. You type that in and you get save 10%. Wow, he sent me a whole bunch of stuff. Hold on, let me unbox this. What, we even got wooden? What? I wish I didn't even know what he sent me. All right. No idea what this is. This is a mat of some type. I have to check it out. He sent me a little mini mat. Oh, I like that. That's pretty cool. Check that out. That's like a little mouse pad. We have a little magnetic mat for it. I'll put that on my desk. We got a nice little brush here. I guess you sent me some sample stuff to try out as well. We got a little sample of tire and hand cleaner. Well done. Tire and hand cleaner. Here you can see it right there. I'm just going to pull all this stuff out. It's a little small moo clean, so you must be stretching out to these little small packages that you could carry away. This is probably perfect for travel, to be honest. Oh, wow. Look at these little thin brushes. Check that out. Oh, I like this. Hold on. Let me take this out of the package. Have a look right now at what we got. Oh, I like these little thin brushes. Ooh, look at that. Look at that, everybody. Look at those thin brushes. Look at that. We got a bag full of them. We have links for Carl RC stuff in the written description of this podcast. Ooh, another brush. Oh, this is that you fill it up with liquid and you pump it brush. There we go. Yeah, I'm pumped about that. See, pump it right there and the liquid comes out. Yep, like that. Ooh, we got a lot of stuff. I didn't realize he sent me a whole bunch of these wooden brushes. I guess they're different textures, different thickness, different textures to try out. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a different one. That's like a polished brush. That's even finer. So the bristles get finer each way they go. Let's throw that over here. So we got 4 brushes here. Wow, I got everything we need to clean up here. Another one of these pump cleaners. That's cool. Another brush. So this is the hardest one. This is the stiffest one. This will be taking off that caked off dirt and all that stuff. I know he sent me one of his new solder mats. Let's get this stuff. Let's get the box out of the way. And let's open up some of this stuff. Here's the solder mat right here. Oh, here's an Otter Butter sample. That's pretty cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. Otter Butter grease. I'm going to be using that on my my boats and all that stuff. Right, we got that box out of her. So we got ourselves one of his cool solder mats. So this is heat resistant. You can see it there, but you can see it here. So it's meant to withstand heat from your soldering irons. Put your soldering on, you can rest your soldering on her and it won't mess it up too bad. I know I've burnt mine a few times. There's that little Utter Butter capsule. But this is the real McCoy. I want to see what this is. So let's see. I think this is the little duster he was telling me about. So throw that out of the way. Okay. So this is a little mini. Okay, it ain't charged up. But this is like a mini blower. So it's chargeable. It has a little USB-C. Has some different tips here that you can fit in here to brush and clean. It's kind of like a mini, one of his blasters. That's like a flexible. So we got all these different type of tips here. We got the blower, the charging cord. I'm not sure what that is exactly. But here's the different types of tips that we have. Pretty cool. Goes right onto a very small tip. The air must be really pressurized out of there. I have to charge this up and see how it works. I might just plug it up to my charger and charge it up here soon. So we got some little mats. Pretty cool stuff. He sent me quite a bit of stuff. I don't know what this is, though. Let's have a look. Oh, this is one of those little sonic cleaners that he has. Woohoo! Let me throw that out of the way. So this is the little sonic cleaner. It's so if you don't, I know you guys have used sonic cleaners for a while. This is a little USB sonic cleaner. You put your cleaning solution in here. That's what this is for. Then this goes on the bottom. So here's your cleaner. Let me get that out of the way. Here's your cleaner, and then here's the grate that goes on the bottom. I'm pretty sure that's what that's for. Oh no, it's a carbon fiber top for that. Oh, that's pretty cool. And here's the grate that goes in it. So like you put your stuff in there, put it on the grate, and then it has suction cups on the back, so it sucks to the magnetic mats pretty good. So pretty cool stuff. That's the carbon fiber lid. That looks cool with some decals. Thank you, Heath, man. I greatly appreciate it, man. That's a great little care package you sent me, man. I appreciate it. Plenty of brushes, all that type of stuff. All this stuff is available on Call RC, everybody. And like I said, we have links for that in our written description of this podcast. Excellent mail call. We actually have another one next week as well coming up for next week's podcast. I want to say a big thank you to Call RC for all their support of the podcast. They are also supporting us going into the Worlds in September. So we greatly appreciate it, man. Use that promo code, save yourself some money as well, and help us out a little bit. Show Call RC. They are really trying to get into RC racing. They just sent me all this cool stuff. They got a plethora of stuff that they can use. I'm really excited to use this mini blaster, duster, vacuum. I'm not sure. I'm going to figure it out. Heath's always coming up with stuff. Good stuff, Heath. I thank you. I appreciate it. Check out Call RC. Call RC. We have links for them in the written description of this podcast. All right, let's get on to our 2024 Roar Nationals 1/8 scale recap. But before we do that, we also have to pay some more bills. We have the Dakota Slideways Midwest Nationals coming up very soon. It's in about 3 weeks' time, I believe. It's taking place in Aberdeen, South Dakota. It's a payout race. So those of you interested in making some money, you can go check it out. Maybe win yourself some money. And yeah, check out Dakota Slideways on Facebook if you want to check them out and get some more information. And it is happening July 13th and 14th. So mark that weekend on your calendar. If you're in the area, go up there, win some money. Seth Van Dalen is going to do the RD work. And thank you, Slideways, for their for choosing the No Name RC podcast to promote their race. joining me in the virtual studio this weekend, and actually he should be in the middle because his middleman Max. I'm going to fix that right now. There we go. That's much better. But joining us in the studio, we're going to do a recap of the 2024 Raw Nationals that happened at HRCR this past weekend in Idaho. The Iders, beautiful track, beautiful facility. But joining us in the middle is middleman Max, and somebody new who I've talked to about having him come on the podcast. He sent me a message after the National, said he would love to be a part of the Raw Nats recap. Max obviously knows him. I've spoken to you a few times online, obviously at races. But Mr. Kurt Coach Wenger, thank you for joining us this episode. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be here. We can chop it up and go over the Nationals. It was a pretty exciting event.
Absolutely. So before we go on any further, I know many people probably heard your name. You're the owner, proprietor of Schelle Racing, I believe. But you was just telling me more about your history in RC prior to that. Obviously, Max knows you from working on, he ran Associated. You're a team Associated guy. You hear a lot of these guys giving you thanks and shouting out to you in their driver intros and afterwards and interviews and stuff like that. So why don't you tell everybody that's listening to this now how you got started working in RC and your history in RC, please.
Yeah. I've been doing RC for the majority of my life. I got my first Gold Tub RC10 and started racing with my dad in the 5th grade, so 9 or 10 years old. Saved up. I had the wiper speed control and everything, and I've always loved engineering, and so I ended up going to school for engineering and worked at Ford Motor Company for a little bit during school and worked at Boeing for a little bit right after school, and got a chance to move down and work with Cliff Lett, and Torrance had just joined the year before at Associated, and so we started working on the RC10 B4 project for our first one in 2002, and ended up doing really well since then. Obviously, that car kind of became legendary, and we worked on the 10th scale line at Associated. So I've kind of worked on all the 10th scale projects. Some other fun highlights was that year Jason Rona launched J Concepts in 03 and launched the BJ4. And then I got to work with Jason on the B44, where we kind of adopted everything we learned for the Associated one. And then we got the 1, 2, 3 podium and went to the Worlds in Japan in 07. So we had a bunch of fun projects like that. And then kind of been working on the accessories and other sides. After I moved out of Associated and launched the Schelle Racing brand in late 2013, and our first products came out in 2014. So been doing that, and joined back up with the Associated guys in 2020. So I've been working back on the car development with Team Associated. So the first thing we started on was the B74.1, and that's when the staff, we got Billy Hayden on staff, and he's been great. He's now the head of the off-road engineering, like race engineering department. And we got Kyle on board and some more, and Varen just joined the team. So we got the guys over at Associated working on the race products, and I like working with those guys. The last year, the main one is the RCA-B 4.1 that we launched, and it went for sale in January. So that's been really exciting. And, when I moved to Texas, I also lived in California, and I moved to Texas in 2019. And so I've been here for 5 years, and we club race at Thornhill Racing Circuit in Austin. So I got really into 8-scale buggy because that's the main class that everybody races out here. So I got to run it a lot more, and we kind of pushed the development along and learning a lot about these cars. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, I asked you previously because you see these guys always giving you shout outs about thanking them and giving some help. And I know you're not always at the races. I think you are. So you do help out a lot with these guys. Even if you aren't there, if you are there, yes. I remember the 2021 Nats. I saw you just thrashing away on Aiden Horn's car. Or was it? Or was you working with Cole Toller? I can't remember. One of those two. Might have been Aiden Horn. I can't remember, but I just remember you constantly thrashing on this car the entire weekend. He had a very good finish second that year too. If it was Aiden Horn, I can't remember.
Yeah, I helped Aiden out and Spencer. We had everybody there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, our cars were going good. Aiden got the top seed and then ended up kind of getting into qualifying, and that was at LCRC, which was we were kind of figuring out the surface, and by the main event, he had awesome speed and ended up finishing second and just kept Maifoeld honest, and they kind of checked out from the rest of the field, but they stayed with a really nice gap where he made it a race.
That was a good race. Also, you was telling me that since you started back in 2002, you've had the chance to work with guys like Cavallari, Tebow, Maifoeld.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you was influential in getting Cavallari at that time, and he was like a rising star from Losi over to Team Associated, which was a big thing back in the day.
Yeah, that was kind of a big twist. I mean, Ryan was at SoCal Raceway. That's where we go club race, and became friends with Ryan, his dad, Lewis. And, when it came time for them to talk contracts, they ended up giving me a call, and we got in touch and made a connection. And we really enjoyed working with those guys. That was we kind of had a dream team. We had Ryan Maifoeld, he won the Cactus Classic, TQ'd and won over Brian Kinwald at the B4 debut race, which I had met him with Brent while we were doing the development and run the prototype car. And I mean, he's just been amazing since then. I mean, if you look at the old RC car actions, you can see that there was a 7 or 8 year old Ryan Maifoeld racing, stock truck at the Cactus Classic. And then he's been doing it since he was little, and he's just kind of got the gift. And then we had Jared on the team with the RC10 GT. He was the famous gas truck multi-champion. Obviously, huge former motocross guy, does the Nitro cars. And then we kind of got to see him get into electric racing. And then he ended up winning a world title in Japan in 2007 and won several national titles. So it was cool to see all those guys come up and really get to know them and work with them. I traveled a lot more back then, whereas now everyone's like, "Are you going to this race?" And I'm like, "Nope. I go to a couple of things a year." So
you're originally from the Pacific Northwest, or?
No, I lived up there, but I born and raised in the South. I lived most of my life in Texas. So okay. I grew up in Houston racing, and then I lived, I've lived in Michigan and lived in Seattle area, and then most of my adult life probably was in Southern California until I've been back here for 5 years, and I live in a small town called Fredericksburg in Central Texas. It's outside of Austin, so I do have to drive like an hour and 45 minutes to Thornhill to go race, but it's worth it.
That's nothing in Texas. How did you get the nickname Coach?
That's a fun one. Mike Truggy is always excited to tell the story about how he started calling me Coach. I had this shirt that I got that was green, and I liked because it matched my paint scheme, and it was from Rec League, and it had Coach on the back. So he started calling me that, and then it kind of just fit with everything because I'm always out, coaching the racers and watching, and got the stopwatch on and stuff. So it all kind of fit, and it really stuck, and then everybody calls me that now.
So, Max, you've had some interactions with the coach, obviously, when you was racing on Team Associated. I told you he was coming on. You seem to be pretty excited. I have to limit you guys science mode today. But go ahead, tell us about your interactions with the coach as being a part of the team associated team.
Yeah, it seems like forever ago now, but I ran Associated for a few years, and um, that was obviously during COVID. So most of Europe was kind of shut down. So a lot of the Europeans couldn't get much running, couldn't go race abroad. So most of my contact was actually with Kurt. So we bounced ideas here and there, and he helped me quite a bit in the beginning to get up to speed because I had never run a pillowable car, and all the sort of basis of what they had run in America and what they tested and what they liked. They had a good baseline, so that was really good from the start. And then from there on out, I learned a lot actually, especially about how to tune the car during a race. I remember we talked about that a lot, especially what you guys had done with Spencer. So it was some good times. I think we have very different ways of looking at things. Because me and Joseph, we, at least from how we look at things together, it's usually kind of theoretical in a lot of ways. We focus a lot on roll centers and this and that, but with Kurt, I don't know like how you think yourself, but the way we communicated, at least, it was more I don't know, it's hard to say, but more sort of mechanical way of looking at it.
Yeah, I'm definitely I try to find the meld between the two, because you have to take the theoretical knowledge of what's happening in the mechanical system, whether it's spring, mass, damping, the differentials, all that stuff, and what's happening with the way the tires work, how a tire grips, and then really try to translate that. So I've just done a lot of isolated testing, and I try to connect the dots between the theoretical and then what I'm actually observing on the track. So sometimes you have to isolate whether, how the car behaved when I changed the differential versus how it changed when I changed the shock oil or the sway bars, and then kind of put all that history together. So I definitely have the theoretical and engineering background, but I always try to link it to some practical applications so that I can tell, what setting really makes a difference.
Yeah, and one thing that I found funny looking at it from like in hindsight, it's funny because when you drive well, obviously if you drive a JQ, but even if you drive a Mayako, if you know Joseph well enough, you kind of know where a certain characteristic of the car comes from, like that exists. But I kind of felt the same with Associated after like we had discussed, because the feeling I felt with my car when I ran you guys setups, it was always kind of what you get with a B6, a B4, those very classic AE style cars, even though completely different category, the way they handle is similar. So it's very interesting when someone has a big part in a design or a setup of a car. It kind of carries over to other cars as well.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, a lot of the people can run the setup that I have and say it's usually, even though it may not be perfect everywhere, at least it has rear traction and it's neutral. And, it's really important to make the car balanced, because as grip goes up and down, at least you can predict what's going to happen. Even if it's not the perfect amount of steering, or if it's not the fastest, at least if it's balanced, then it's fun and you can go have fun driving it. Because I think the first level of entry in racing RC is just getting the car to go straight. For a new person, they're just trying to go straight, go around the turns, and not spin out and do donuts. So they're not worried about, oh, well, this setup has more corner speed. They're like, bro, I can't even do a whole race without crashing. We need to make it easy to drive so I don't crash first.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you reached out to us. I'm sure you have some insight on what happened at the Nationals, because obviously Associated was there. I think all the Associated guys were running good. I can't, we have to figure out what happened to Rivkin in the end.
We can go over that.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna get right into the Max. Before we go in, did you want to ask Coach anything before we move into the Raw Nationals recap?
No, I think we're good. He gave quite a good explanation of what he's doing, and it's actually good to know that you're like more officially back in RC, because for a while I felt you was a bit, doing it as a hobby. So I think now you're quite officially part of AE, so that's always good. Always good.
Yeah. I've been working with the team off and on. I mean, I've done RC full time since 2002. So I've never really been out of it. I've just been, working on my own brand. I really like the freedom I had. My daughter was born in 2011, so it was really nice to work from home and have a home office. A lot of the business, when she was little, I worked out of my house and have the freedom to do that. And I always have raced associated cars and had relationships with the guys, so we would go back and forth. Being in Southern California, I was able to go to a lot of events there, and RIP, OCRC, best 10 scale track in the world. Got to go club race there every Wednesday and do their, OCRC stock nats and the summer, race, which it bounced around, Endless Summer Classic, or gosh, I can't even remember the name of it, but, do those events. And obviously Reedy Race, being there every January, we got to do a lot of 10 scale. I got to race that. So even though it was kind of unofficial, I wasn't working and designing the cars. That was when Cody Newmandahl was there, and a few of the other guys, on the team had kind of bounced around. So there's some new faces there, but all the guys have kind of been with us for this whole product cycle since I rejoined and started working on the car development. So it's been off and on, but yeah, a lot of the direct effect on like what's in the kit, the features, the kit setup, and the car design I've had a lot more hand in it, obviously being back there since 2020.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, it's our honor to have you here on the podcast, man. We look forward to picking your brain about your thoughts about this awesome race that happened this past weekend. But before we get onto that, we have to pay some bills. And this race report is brought to you by Invisible Speed and High-Tech RC.
Stop scrolling. You want to be Lewis Hamilton? Learn something new with Invisible Speed. You can't do everything at 100% maximum speed. You have to be smooth. I mean, when you drive a real car, if you drive a real car, how do you just... When you get to a 90-degree corner to turn into the parking lot, do you go like that with the steering wheel? Do you like slam on the throttle and the brake? No. You probably turn the wheel smooth and get on the throttle smooth. Same thing with an RC car. If you want to learn more and make your speed visible, stop scrolling.
That's right, but don't stop scrolling, because you can find a link for the affiliate link of the NNRC for Invisible Speed in the written description of this podcast. Also, a big thank you to High-Tech RC for all their support. They just released their new RDX1 200 AC/DC multifunctional smart charger. This is meant for the more of a cheaper brand of charger, coming in at $79.99. High-Tech's new economically priced RDX1 200 is a compact and versatile charger designed for speedily charge your packs and to meet the diverse needs of the entire RC community. Perfect for use at home or on the go. This state-of-the-art AC/DC charger features a compact, durable design, user-friendly initiative interface, and bright LCD screen. It is easy to configure and for all common battery chemistries, while also ensuring safe and efficient charging. The RDX1 200 offers a full 100 watts of power when charging from a 120 volt AC and up to 200 watts with a DC supply. It also features multiple modes to help maximize performance of your batteries. If you guys want to find out some more information or check out a High-Tech RDX1 200 charger, links for that are in the written description of this podcast. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty of what happened this past weekend. So we had one of my favorite races of the year, probably in my opinion, I know it's a big argument about this race's prestige, but you can't say much more about Aurora Nationals. I love the Aurora Nationals. It's the one big race that we have in the USA where we kind of race like the rest of the world, like Europe, and like how they do at the IFMAR World Championships. There's no classes. You go there to see where you really stack up against some of the best in the world and mostly best in America. And a champion is crowned. And of course, I don't think this year, but next year's one is for qualifying for the World Championships. We had it this past weekend. I thought that it was up at HRCR, which is up in Idaho. The Iders, very nice family. They are avid racers. Brian Ider and his son Travis and their family have traveled, I think, for the last 3 or 4 years all over America racing. They've been to pretty much every major race in America. He built this beautiful facility with an indoor carpet track, on-road track, and this beautiful off-road 8-scale track. I think he spent like $450,000 or something, under $500,000 on this facility. And he got to hold the Raw Nationals. And man, I cannot describe that I really, 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 really liked this track. So we'll get your thoughts on it, Kurt. Then we'll come to Max. So what are your thoughts on the track? While you guys do that, I'm going to bring up some video of the track. This video is from the Live RC live stream coverage. We'll leave a link for that in the written description of this podcast so you can check it out. So go ahead, Coach. Give us your thoughts on this track.
Yeah, everybody said it was beautiful. It's a great place to go racing in the summer, being up in Idaho. You're in the mountains, the greenery and everything's beautiful. And then, my thoughts on the track was that I really liked the layout. You could tell everything was built well. All the jumps had the right amount of loft. They put in some really technical jump sections where they had those sequences where they had the double jumps and their gaps so that you're really have to watch your jumping distance, where they don't have a super long lander. But I liked the flow, the amount of flowing corners versus 180s, the staggered roller section, coming into the front, bull turn, all that stuff was really cool, technical, like off camber, 180 with the rollers. They kind of had everything, and it was well built. The jumps were good. I was really impressed with how well it held together. You didn't have to deal with large potholes and the surface breaking up. So, hats off to the maintenance crew. And the other interesting thing that really separates the men from the boys is watching the track change through the week, because the guys showed up and they were going out on the J Concepts green tires. So a really soft tire, worried about wheel span and just getting traction, and then taking that progression all the way through the weekend of ending up on the hardest tire that they make for the main events. So the grip keeps going up. One other unique thing about the Nationals that's really unique about U.S. races is that it's nitro only, and the nitro cars are constantly spraying down the exhaust and the fumes. So when you have a nitro only race, it's always going to behave different, and the grip is going to go up quite a bit more versus an event where you're constantly stopping the program to run electric, because a lot of the races in the U.S. are probably entry-wise electric dominated. And so you've got only half of the track time with nitro cars on the track, maybe a little less than half. But that's the unique thing about this event that maybe the U.S. drivers aren't used to, is the track's constantly getting sprayed. The exhaust that they're spraying out has fuel in it, so they're getting oil and the unspent fuel. And so it's just like spraying down traction compound, and the track's going to get grip in a unique way at this race that a lot of the Americans aren't used to.
Absolutely. Speaking of that high grip, I was told that, especially in that final, that the grip was the highest it had been the entire weekend. And I think Maifoeld was saying that the new word is audible, by the way, Max. We're calling audibles. They had a tire audible where he went to the hardest compound that J Concepts had. So that comes to an attestment to what you said, it being an all nitro event and all the tracks and compound from the nitro exhaust and oils being put on the track. Max, thoughts on this track?
Yeah, the track really impressed me because when it was the warm up and we was talking about it on the show, I was kind of like, okay, really, West Coast style. Kind of reminded me of the track in Arizona we was talking about it earlier, where the dog got hit. Can't remember now. Was it the Nitro Compound or something?
That's it. Correct, Nitro Compound.
Yeah. So kind of reminded me of that. But then I saw this layout and I was like, God damn, it was really, really, really special. It's like how would I say? It's like West Coast, but the surface is nothing like that, and also the size is nothing like that. It's weird combination, but it worked very well. The amount of off canvas, that was definitely must have been difficult for many drivers. And the very abrasive, because like Kurt said about the grip coming up and all that, that's not always necessarily a tough thing. But what makes a track like this tough is the abrasiveness. So, for example, at the end of the straight, you have these like micro bumps. It's like a little ruts that kind of catch your car. You can go over them, but then at some point it catches your car. So those are the things that really made it look, at least, very difficult. But all in all, I think I was really happy with the track, considering how good racing it provided, and also considering they got properly rained out on Thursday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
They got rain.
Yeah.
So they stayed up.
I think they didn't have any open practice because of that.
They did, but it started at about 3. So Ida and his track crew, they were up to about 2:30. He said in the morning, draining the track, getting the puddles off, and then around 3 in the afternoon, they got on the track. Something else I forgot to mention was the pit lane entrance. First time in my racing where I've seen you had to jump into pit lane. So if you're watching this if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see as you're coming, the straight-aways are like, you see the pit lane peel off, or you had to jump into that. Coach, did anybody find that difficult that you talked to? Because it is, I was expecting a lot of chaos there, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't talk to anybody. Nobody specifically mentioned it, but I do want to second that is the first time I've ever seen anything like that in, let's see, I've been racing Nitro for 13 years. And no way have I seen anything like that for a pit entrance. Usually it's really tame. So I saw some guys on the camera, jumping in and doing a rail slide, a 50-50 grind on the pipe. I don't think too many people cartwheeled, but it was the most technical pit entrance I've ever seen. And to be turning, jumping, and having to clear the jump and then go directly into that long arcing curve looked like a nightmare. But everybody made it. I don't think too many people launched it off the side.
And they had a speed limit too. They had somewhere where you had to slow down by a certain line or something like that as well.
Yeah, they had those zigzags, and then some pits will put the crossbar above the jump, but here they put a jumping line so that you have to watch your speed on entry. And if you jumped over the white line, but it was like gray, but they put down some silver duct tape or something. They said if you jump past that, you'll get a warning, and then you can get a penalty if you do it again. So if you look on the red pit lane, there's a line, so you could only jump like 3 feet, and that's just for the pit man safety, because some people just get out of hand and will go too fast, jump up and hit the guys on the end if you go off the edge.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to give a big kudos to Brian Ida and the HRCR crew. They did a great job. Lots of jumps, a very busy track. We heard Mayfield and a lot of drivers say it's probably one of the most challenging tracks they've been on a very long time, especially for nationals. And what it proved was some great racing for all of us as well. So, Max, we had some pre-race talking points going into this race. One of them was, can Fenn keep his win streak up of 2 Nitro Buggy championships? Well, obviously he didn't. He tried. He tried a lot. And can Maifoeld or Fuller put the pressure on Fenn? Well, I guess it was Maifoeld obviously did put the pressure on him. Fuller, I thought it was going to happen again because he was very fast all weekend, but unfortunately it didn't happen for him. And then something that we probably didn't even really think about was Little Bump, how well he did her. So that was some of our pre-race talking points. And then, of course, the track was also very, very good. But, yeah, I mean, I think I watched the Truggy main. I watched a lot of the quarterfinals. I think I watched on Sunday, like the quarterfinals right on through. I watched the Truggy mains and a B main, Truggy main, and then quarterfinals right on through to the finals. And it was a lot of exciting racing in all those quarterfinals, semifinals, as well as the main final. So the track was responsible for that. So that was a good thing. All right, Max. Let's get into our Corsatec USA actual race recap. Let's see. So, Coach, what was things like for people day one of Thursday? Thursday was official day, right?
Yeah, I know the practice one was just figuring out tires. I know Spencer went out initially and tried blue tires, which is, you know, the whatever you want to call it, the soft, whereas green's a super soft. And he's like, dude, I was rally car racing out there. You know, we got to run the super soft tires until the track comes in. So I think they spent it's one of those things where a lot of people can get lost chasing the track. So we just stayed on the tires that have traction until the rubber got laid down until the seeding day. So they kind of got through the practice and got into the seeding, and then you could switch to the harder compound tires. But it took a while for it to come in. It's pretty typical I know a lot of the races at Thornhill, I'll run the green soft tires in the practice, and then I might run it in the first qualifier in the morning, and then I'll switch to the harder rubber after the running has come in. So it was a pretty normal progression that you see, and you try not to chase your car too much. But yeah, I mean, you could see the lap times keep getting faster, and then, you know, it was good to get into the 34s, and then it got into the 33s, and then they were doing 33s every lap by the end.
You're on mute, Kieran.
Max, who was impressive for you coming out of practice on Thursday?
I was surprised to see Sontag was faster than Fenn. That was, for me, the biggest one in buggy. But to be honest, there wasn't many. Lil Bump was third in Truggy, I think. Second, actually, in Truggy. But apart from that, it was not really that surprising. And I think that's really down to the fact that during practice, like Kurt said, the track was really not that rubbered in. You know, people were running kind of whatever tires. And I think it was not until qualifying where, you know, you kind of notice who actually have the speed, because of the fact that when the track gets rubbered in, the guys who are the most comfortable, they're going to be also comfortable over 10 minutes. But those guys who the car is okay, maybe it's good in low grip or whatever, you can easily do 3 laps in a row. Or I don't know if they did two, or they did 3, but
yeah,
still,
they did 3.
It's much easier in my opinion. And yeah, it kind of showed afterwards who was strong and who was not.
Okay, so we go into Friday. We do 2 rounds of qualifying on Friday, 2 rounds of qualifying on Saturday, if I remember correctly. Truggy had 5-minute qualifiers and Buggy had 10-minute qualifiers. I got to ask you both. Start with you, Kurt. How does one, as a race engineer, plan for these 10-minute qualifiers? I think Drake was one of the early guys to go 10 minutes. He always kind of goes 10 minutes at these races anyway. He's so good at that. But tell us about you guys' strategy going into those 10-minute qualifiers for Buggy.
Yeah, I think 10 minutes, a lot of the things that you would do for a 5-minute race kind of stay the same. It's not until you stretch beyond that you start really worrying about overheating, like the diffs and your shock oil and everything. Because you go do like 3 laps before, so you're running for 11 and a half minutes or something. But I think that's kind of the threshold. The one thing you can learn about those runs is you've got the refueling stop, so you can kind of see how your engine tune is. I know a lot of these guys, they said the engine and the power band was super critical because you'd go down, one example would be the back chute. You go over that roller coaster back straightaway, and then you've got a 180 turn, and that gap double was pretty tight. And you can see that a lot of the guys were going 3 to 4 feet off the end of the pipe to arc off that turn, but they're also trying to get enough momentum to let the engine spool up. And the tight line that you would maybe take in an electric, you couldn't do it in the nitro. So they were working on that. And then obviously after that single, with the staggered rollers thing, killing your momentum. And then that was a pretty big gap jump into the bull turn to get over. So you really had to keep your momentum and have the engine tuned there. And the other thing is, you're up in the mountains a little bit. So I calculated that, the air was thinner. It's not as much as being in, Colorado or anything, but it's a 5 or 6% difference in the air. Plus it's hot and you need a lot of power for the jumps. Like Maifoeld was saying in the post-race interviews, they were working a lot with the restrictor and the pipe and the engine setup to make sure that you could make power, but not be on the verge of overheating because you need a consistent setup. So I'm sure those guys could monitor as they ran through. My thinking would be to try to run one long stint and one short stint. So I know in a lot of our races, like Richard would bring Spencer in at maybe 3 minutes, especially if he was in traffic, and then he could run 7 minutes and really build in the second half of the race. Or, you go the other way and try to run, 7 minutes and then do a short stint. So you can kind of get the engine up to speed and then see how it's going to be after you fuel it up, because that's really going to matter in the mains. I'm not really a big fan of pitting it right at 5 minutes in a 10-minute qualifier. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If, at these nationals, the only time you get to drive your car is when you're in your race. So that's the best time to really get a feel for how the engine setting is. Qualifying, I was a little surprised that Fend was seated, down at 6th or 7th, where he's usually setting the pace. But as soon as the qualifiers came in, I think they figured some stuff out and put it all together. So I was a little surprised to see him low and then jump back up to, setting the pace and really pushing it. But they really got that car dialed in to where he's shows up and is fast everywhere.
Yeah, especially in qualifying. It was 10 minutes, but he comes out Q1, absolutely dominates, takes that, followed by Ryan Lutz, Ryan Maifoeld, Brandon Rose, Bornhorst, Sontag, Lime, Rivkin in 8th, Wiggins in 9th, and Cole Tallard in 10th. I think my biggest surprises from Q1 was Mason Fuller, and I think that was probably had to be his throwaway. I'm trying to think where I'm trying to see where he finished.
Well, he had actually DNF. It was him and Lil Bump both. They had like a. Well, I don't know if Lil Bump had a DNF, but he had like 3 laps less than the rest of the field. So
that was their throwaway.
Yeah, they both had really bad first rounds. Same with Aiden, actually. Looking at the results now, they're way down. All of them had DNF. So, I don't know why.
Jonah Wilson was fast. So I'm sorry, Max. Just looking at their Jonah Wilson. I was looking at the AE guys. So Those are two young guys. You heard Jermaine's name a lot this weekend being called, so he was racing pretty good. Go ahead, Max. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I kind of. It was funny when you said you don't like pitting at 5 minutes, but I'm kind of like I'd always pit it with 5 minutes, just because of the reason that you can keep the engine within the optimal range for the qualifiers. But I do see the point of kind of setting it up for the main, especially because you only have 4 qualifiers. Because usually, if you go to the Worlds, you have 6, so you have much more time. The track's gonna change, the temperature's gonna change. You can't really do much, but here you only have 4. You kind of have 4 chances of trying all that out, so it makes more sense. But yeah, I was actually gonna say that with the 10-minute qualifiers, as far as I'm concerned, it seemed that it was quite out there. At the track being the way it is, with high speed, but still lots of like very tricky sections where you need a throttle control. The engine overheating is very big deal, because you need the power, like you said, but as soon as you go too lean, you're gonna start overheating it on the long straights, and that's when it all goes south. So pitting at 5 minutes kind of helps with that, but obviously when you have to pit 7:30 or even 8:30 like Fenn did, you gotta figure out the latter parts of the
exactly. It can kind of mask your problems, so I'd rather know if I have a problem earlier than later. I mean, a lot of these guys, Spencer, Maifoeld, they know that even if they have an off run, they're still going to get enough points to get into the semis. So I think maybe a different mindset. Whereas if I'm, in 30th place and just trying to get every little point I can get, I might behave a little different.
Right, because they don't have to.
Sure,
they don't have to directly qualify into the final. The only person that does that is Dakota Fenn. So everybody still has to race to get in with the semifinal. So I guess it is a totally different mindset to the approach than letter means.
Yeah, and I think actually now that you said it, I think there has not been a single guy who's been like looking very confident after qualifying straight into the main. Like I don't know. I think Fenn might have done it the past 2 years. At least he did it last year. But I remember Maifoeld TQing 2 or 3 times, really struggling in the main. Same can be said for others as well in the past. So I think, not having that kind of a warm-up race for these guys, because at the end of the day, for Maifoeld offend, unless you play him out, you're going to make it into the main. So you don't really have to worry about anything. And having your car put to the, like, driving behind another guy, all that, knowing how it feels, I think it is a more of an advantage than it is, getting straight into the main, at least for myself.
By the way, Hayden, Idaho is 697 meters above sea level, so about 1,400 feet. It's under 1,400.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is a difference, but it's not like
not that big.
Remember,
but you have to take it into effect. He even gave us a percentage for it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
you know,
but I mean, like Portugal, I think that was like more than a kilometer above sea level or something. Yeah. So there, it felt like you're driving a completely different like fuel.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. All right, going into Q2, we see things kind of even out here. Fenn, he takes it again, followed by Maifoeld, Wiggins. Fuller pops in top 5. Camden Live, impressive top 5. Camden Live had a very good weekend. His results don't reflect his weekend. Bornhorst, Setzer, top AE guy. Little bumps in with an 8. Rose, Ryan Lutz. A little bit of a slower run for Rivkin. He finished on the 20th. What did he find? What changed in the track between rounds 1 and 2, do you think?
Well, we had a pretty good round 1, looking for some more speed, and then it was interesting. I mean, that's why we have a team, is Lee kind of went one direction, and Spencer tried something to to improve the car, and we learned a lesson that ended up applying, for later. But we did kind of a diff oil change to try to help the car, and we only changed one end of the car, and it kind of threw the balance off. So he actually went worse, and we got some good clues from Lee. Lee found some things and went ahead. So we kind of put our heads together for day 2. And got with Aiden Horn and the other guys. So you can see our guys, like Aiden's 2 scores. He got a 13 and a 9 on the second day to get him up into the semis. And just having all the other guys, the Robinsons did awesome. And then, shout out Lee getting into the final, and then you go down to like Cade Burnett, Tyler Finster, and a few of our other guys, bumped in. So we had quite a good showing of guys in the semifinals, and then obviously those 3 bumping into the main. So we kind of made something the wrong direction and said, hey, let's backtrack and go in the direction of Lee's car. And then in the last round, when Spencer got second, we ended up kind of taking the lesson that more grip had come down, but we changed both the front and the rear diff oil at the same time because the grip was coming up. And that way we could kind of get the car a little easier to drive, but still keep the balance. So that was kind of an interesting lesson. We got 20th. He didn't do well on the second one, but you take cues from that and you realize, hey, I need to change both of these at the same time. Just little stuff like that. So we moved up. I think one of the best looking cars through qualifying was Mason Fuller. Was pretty scary for how good his car looked and the pace he was setting. I know Mayfield, he got third, and then he kind of fell off in the last round and got 7th with his worst run time-wise. But he looked really impressive. Wiggins did really well. And, I mean, having those guys, even though they're on a different car, a lot of our guys like Lee and Jonah and Jermaine and Spencer all run the J Concepts tires. So we could kind of take a clue on when it was time to change to the Aqua tires on the second day.
Okay. Awesome.
I wanted to ask actually about the sort of setup direction, because was there sort of a tipping point, or was it more of a sort of a gradual, adjustments to the grip increasing, or was it sort of now there's grip and then you were screwed? Oh, how would you say it? Like
it slowly progressed, obviously depending on the start time of the race and how much moisture there is in the air. The mornings are going to be a little different. So like the first morning, I think we even ran blue tires, and some of the other guys had jumped to the Aqua, which is a harder tire. But I kind of told Spencer to look at the tire wear and how much of the pin was wearing off during the run. That's a really good indicator that I don't switch to the Aqua tires until the blue tires start shredding. Because if you go to a harder tire too soon, it doesn't grip the track as much. So you lose steering feel and it's hard to turn in, and then it's hard to exit the turns because you'll get wheel spin. So we kind of waited till we confirmed that. So another lesson we've learned is kind of if you get to a certain point, you don't want to go too high in your diff oils and stuff, because as soon as you switch to a tire with less traction, you're going to turn into a rally car, and all the diffs, if you go beyond a certain threshold, it's time to, switch tires instead of making your diffs even thicker. So just some kind of rule of thumb lessons, which you kind of learn the hard way sometimes from putting on the diffs too thick and the tires too hard, and then you just lose all feel for the track and you deal with all kinds of wheel spin problems. So we dealt with that and moved up, and so it was really positive day 2 for the guys. I know we kind of reached a common ground for the shock package and the wing. A lot of the guys from the tracks in Arizona and SoCal have been running like the lower downforce wing, and then we switched to the standard wing wicker bill with holes in it. So you can see in some of the videos, Spencer changes wing for the end of the second day of qualifying. So you kind of chasing stuff like that, and that's why we have teammates, and it helps out to look at somebody else who's having success and work off of that.
But you wasn't running the beta style wing. You was running the old school style wing, right?
He had the Razor, which is the one with the 4 fins, but he had the back wicker bill trimmed down like 9 millimeters.
Oh,
so it didn't look like it, but still had the sides, but a lot less of the air dam in the back and a lot less of the stabilizers. So, I went and tested that at the track. I went and practiced on Friday, and I was like, dude, changing the wing that much is a really big difference. I think you might want to look at going backwards.
Oh, so you're going to the track and trying these things, or you just happen to be at the track?
I had it planned earlier in the week, but since they were there, and I was like, gosh, they've always been trying. Mayfield's running it quite a few races cut down. And I was like, I've never done that, and I didn't have any wings, and some of them I got some that came in, so I was like, well, I'll give it a try and see how it does. And I was pretty amazed, but I did a bunch of back-to-back so I could really get a feel for what the wing change did. And so then you kind of ask some questions on the debrief, and I was like, man, it really seems like you should look at changing your wing. And so it ended up being a good direction. The track was really grippy and high traction, but if it's high traction, you get front grip and rear grip. So you need something to stabilize the car and make it easier to drive.
Awesome. So that's pretty. I mean, you can't beat that type of teamwork. Not only do you have people there, you have a plethora of people there running the cars and trying different things, seeing what works and don't work. You're at home at Thornhill, I assume, testing out stuff. That's why you get the shout-outs, Coach. That's why you get the shout-outs.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on.
But that's how they do it in F1. They have people running the simulator all weekend.
You know what? I don't see why it would not hurt. Let's move on to Saturday, which was apparently the hottest day there, according to Scotty and everybody. Qualifiers 3 and 4. They started at about 9 o'clock. So were the guys still going out, or were they going out on their softer tires and softer diffs, or were they going out there on what they had on at the end of Q2 on Saturday morning?
Well, I talked to the guys. I think they were kind of bouncing between the Aqua 2 is the next step up from the blue that we kind of switched to. I know they make an Aqua 3, A3. I think most of the guys jumped to the A2, and they have a tread called the Relapse and a Rehab. I think Fuller said he ran Rehabs. I don't know about the other tire brands, obviously, of what Aiden runs Proline, and he ran their kind of convict-looking tire and the different rubber compounds. But, we switched to that and ran that the second day. And I think Spencer ran the Reflex tire, and he didn't switch to the smaller pins until they got a little deeper into the event. But the track had already kind of laid down enough rubber, so everybody would switch to the harder tires. But the races were shorter, and the semis obviously 30 minutes. So we kind of got the car going pretty good. He got the 18, 10, 22. I'm looking at it here in the last round. That was pretty exciting to at least give him a run for his money. I mean, Fend even got faster. He got a 10, 14 that round and just blew everybody away.
Yeah, that was crazy. Q3 saw Fend sum it up in 3 runs. Mason Fuller got a 2, Mayfield for 3. Rifkin had a 7. We forgot to talk about somebody who was fast in Q2. That was Wiggins. He was third.
And
He was
then Fee got a fourth in round 3, so he had a good second day. Tater had, he had 3. His worst finish in qualifying was a 14, so obviously their car was working good. And Jermaine had his best run in the last round.
Yeah, a 5. Wow. He found something in that last round.
For sure.
Did you guys change something for the last round? Because looking at the results, it looks like all of the associated guys had quite a strong last round with Rivkin, Jermaine, all these guys.
I don't know what we did, but the last round was when Spencer changed we just did the diffs because the grip was coming up, and we left the center and changed the front and rear, and had a lot more improvement to make it easier to drive. So we kind of took a clue from that, and I think he ran it that way in the semis, and then we kind of did another step in that direction for the main event because it's a longer race and the grip was up even more.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's funny because the way you kind of explain it, it seems like realistically you guys did probably 5 or 6, setup changes from your normal setup. Is that right? It sounds at least like that. The difference compared to the normal or like baseline setup is not that big.
Yeah, he moved. Spencer showed up with a setup like he ran in Arizona. There's a video on Facebook he put up, and the car was phenomenal for that surface. But those tracks are a little unique because it's a lot hotter outdoors, so the tire grip is a little different, and they have a lot of dust and pebbles on the track. So it's maybe not as consistent, whereas this one had kind of been a little more blown off, and it was a lot more tacky. So I think the setup that he came up with had a lot of oversteer, and we ended up kind of changing the rear end to make it more planted and the front end to make it smoother. So a lot of those changes were done into qualifying. We were kind of scrambling, and then by round 1, everything was going better, and it was a little less chaotic, but we kind of learned some lessons from the other teammates. The guys like Lee races in Virginia and East Coast and like where Jonah Wilson and those guys are running on different tracks. So we could kind of take a clue that everybody shows up, but I think the guys with the West Coast package, it was probably just a little too heavy of a rear bar and too stiff on the rear suspension and soft on the front because they're trying to get steering feel on a lower grip track. So we kind of moved towards those other packages a little closer to like what I run at my home track. And so we had some direction. It was just kind of had to take some big steps earlier in the seeding days and stuff when we realized that the baseline that we showed up with wasn't perfect. So that's why you can see the results kind of moving in that direction. But it's a lot of wrenching. It's better to show up and have it work perfect. But I know what Dakota, he looked good from the get-go. I would say that the one that looked good from jump was Mason Fuller, just from throwing the car out in all the seating and everything. It was really strong. Wiggins was really strong. I'm sure he and Ryan were working back and forth. And, those guys have good teamwork too. And then there's obviously the S-Works team, and those guys, Camden and Brandon, did really well. So there's when you have a few fast guys that know what's going on, you can put the clues together a lot better, having a team.
Who was your biggest surprise? And who was your biggest surprise in, I would say not loser, but biggest, who was the biggest loser for you coming out of qualifying? Biggest surprise and biggest loser for you? Loser.
I'll go first. I think the surprise, knowing what the end result is, I'm really excited for Felong, Lil Bump. They've, did the chassis switch. I know that they said a bunch of times, thanks to Mr. Lutz. I think Ryan's done a great job getting him up to speed because with the HB car, leading the Silver State, a year ago. They kind of had a rocky time, just transitioning, relearning the car, finding a package he's comfortable with. So it was great to see them, get back up there and find a complete package. And the track and the traction and everything kind of suits what they get to race a lot. Being in Louisiana, they come and race in Texas probably the most when they're not doing the major events. So seeing him, with the way everything shook out, moving up and getting on the podium was obviously, I'm sad for, Spencer having the flame out. The little backstory was he said he went over that little floater double before the off camber, and as soon as he landed on a rock and he grabbed the throttle and it just was nothing. So it insta died, and then it rolled up to the corner and the marshal ended up grabbing it, and he said he saw the rock fall out.
But this was during the final or during qualifying?
That was the final.
Oh, okay. We was talking about qualifying.
Oh,
I was like,
I'm already jumping to just the whole event.
Let's jump into the 60-minute final.
I'm just saying that's my biggest surprise was that he did awesome. They were really setting the pace. He led a bunch of laps, and I don't think there's anybody that's a negative. Like everybody that was up front stayed up front, and then some more people jumped ahead. But I thought it was a pretty fair end result. Obviously, the one guy that you really cheer for is Ryan Lutz. He started off super hot with the second place. I was a little scared. I thought his car looked really good, and it ended up, kind of finishing. He qualified, P9 and was in there, but he looked scary fast at the beginning.
How about you, Max? Who was your biggest surprise coming out of the last day of qualifying there Saturday?
I think you have to say Wiggins here because as good as he is, being in front of Fuller, Rose, and Rivkin after qualifying, that is, you have to be fast. So I think for me at least it was really Wiggins who was the biggest sort of surprise of winner after qualifying. He was a bit more quiet in the main. Semis still went good, but the main a little bit, disappointing. But still, probably his best nationals, I'd say, if I'm not wrong. I have to agree with Kurt here because they're Cole probably is the only one who I was a little bit disappointed with. And actually, now that I look at it, Cavallari was in the quarters, starting from the quarters. He qualified really bad, but he ended up finishing 5th, so kind of redeemed himself. He must have, he bumped all the way from the quarters. I didn't even notice that. But Cavallari qualified 22nd. So I guess considering he finished 5th, qualifying was a disappointment for him. But probably overall, looking at the event, Ogden was probably the only one who I would have wanted to see more from. But I think, we can talk about.
Let's get into some of these finals. I think coming out of qualifying, Wiggins was a surprise. I wasn't really surprised at Little Bump. He was very fast at this track earlier this year. I don't know if he came to do warm-up, but he came to a race upper. I think my biggest surprise, and I've been saying he needs to get out of California and race more, is FCJ. Because at the end of qualifying, he was way down in 36, I believe. Now, he did bump up to the semifinal, which redeemed him, but after coming off such good, I think didn't he make the finals at Silver State? I can't remember. It's only been like a month. Yeah. I know a lot of high expectations were probably on him to make the finals or the nationals. So coming out of qualifying, I think that was my Wiggins, my biggest winner, and FCJ, I don't want to use loser, but my underperformer. There we go. But with this ladder style format, 3 bump ups. I think it was 3 bump ups from each main. and then the Autumn Evil finals, and then you still have to go into the semifinal. There's always a way to bump up. Before we go into, I don't want to talk about Truggy too much. It was a great race. Don't get me wrong, but we were more about Buggy here. I wanted to ask you something before we go into Truggy. Do you feel that Fenn not being able to run his semifinal is a hindrance, or whoever TQs this, is that a hindrance to them going into that final? Do you think it is, not being able to run that semifinal?
Yeah, I think on a track like this, because it's changing so fast, it's definitely, I know for me, unless your package is just totally dialed, you're missing a segment of the track evolution. So unless you're like notorious for not being able to finish semifinals and you don't want to have the wear and tear on the car, I think getting the extra laps in on the grip, it's a risk because anything can go bad. But in the end, I would put that in the factor of things that are a difference maker. It's great to get the TQ, maybe you got a TQ bonus check, but if you're trying to win, I'm not surprised the winner came out of the semifinals and was not the direct top qualifier.
You're on mute again, Keenan.
This is sorry about that. This is an ongoing discussion, right? Over, I know at the Worlds you still have to race in. Then we have the discussion, what if you break? But they have an LCQ. I mean, we saw Fenn not break and go in through the LCQ last year. So I think he needs to. It's not just enough to practice. I think you need to go out there and race, right? Get up with that race pace and be out there and have something on the line. So I definitely think that. All right. So they did some lower mains for Saturday. Then we get into Truggy mains. That was the first main up for these guys. Ryan, did Maifoeld TQ'd it? No, Fuller. Who TQ'd it? I should have had this all prepared.
Fuller grabbed the TQ. He grabbed it in the last round with the 504.2.
Yes.
And got it by a 10th on the tie break.
I remember because I watched that now. Yeah. But it would be Maifoeld who ends up taking this win over Fuller. They had a good race to start with, if I remember correctly. But man, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's gonna be kind of hard to beat Maifoeld and that Tekno truck pretty much anywhere, I think, because I'm a big proponent that I think the Tekno truck is great. So I mean, once again, Tekno wins a Truggy title. Mason Fuller was close. Any thoughts on what's your thoughts on the Truggy final, Coach?
Yeah, I've been impressed. I know some of the earlier races when I saw Maifoeld with the Tekno Truggy, I don't think they quite had it figured out. But this year, seeing him DNC and doing well at Silver State, they've definitely got the Truggy figured out. So it's going well. I always thought, Fenn was the pace setter. A lot of the battles in the past, he came out on top with just the raw speed. So I always go to races and I'm like, Fenn is the fastest Truggy, but maybe that's not the case anymore. But everybody looked fast. The TLR Truggies did well. The Teknos did pretty well. And then Cav snuck in there. We had Aiden and Jonah Wilson get in there, and then it looked like the Kyosho, Fee ended up in the back, but he was sixth, number 6 starting, but ended up in the back in that one. So their day got off to a rough start.
Okay, Max, did you watch any of the Truggy main, Max? I know you're an avid Truggy fan.
I have to be honest here. I did not indeed watch the Truggy main.
I watched it because it was pretty good.
Yeah, I heard it was good, but I did watch some qualifying of Truggy, but I missed the main. I'm sorry.
Do you guys learn anything from that? Is what you guys are doing in the Truggy, is that applicable to the buggy in any way?
Sometimes you take some clues. The biggest one just be like the tire compound and being like, well, I went up in my, Truggy center diff, so I'm going to go up in my buggy center diff. You get some clues like that. They're kind of different. I know Truggy's the hardest one on the engines, especially when you're trying to get max power out of them. So that was kind of
Rivkin was in the B. He had to bump up. He was doing good. And what happened to him? Something happened. He broke something in Truggy, right?
Oh, I know this. They told me afterwards, but had some kind of a fail. I'll let you know if I remember it. But yeah, he kind of moved up, and the truck was going pretty good, and he had a just spotty off and on results. So yeah, the cool part is we've had some durability issues, and we got a new gear set coming out, ring and pinion gear for the Truggy, and been working, on the gearbox. So our top guys have been running the prototypes, and we don't have the ring and pinion issues. So look for that for Associated. Some new products coming out. That stuff's all the pipeline, should be out later this summer.
Sweet. I'm just going to go through our results of Truggy. We had Maifoeld taking the win. Congratulations to him and Tekno. Mason Fuller second. Dakota Fenn third. The Wizard Jared Wiggins in fourth. CFT Cole Tollard. So looks like Losi found something with that Truggy, because Cole Tollard was fifth. Tater Sontag sixth. The man from Texas, Brandon Rose, in seventh. Seth Van Dalen eighth. Ryan Cavallari in the X-ray, I assume, in ninth. Cole Ogden in 10th. Aiden Horn, Jonah Wilson, Camden Lime, and Little Bump finishing in 14th. I don't know. That doesn't look right. But anyway, congratulations to the winner there. The Truggy race was great. I was expecting the buggy race to be even better. We had to go through some of the quarterfinals and semifinals to get to this. I think I had the quarterfinal bump ups here. Max, want to lead us into some of the finals real quick while I look up the scoring, please?
Yeah. I'm still a little bit bamboozled by Cavallari being all the way down in the quarters.
I'm not.
No. I was talking about that he qualified 22nd in buggy.
Yeah, but I think he still made the semis.
He made the main. Cavallari finished 5th.
Yeah, exactly. Why are you bamboozled? Like, why are you confused about Cavallari? I always tell you that this man rises to the top. It takes some time.
He's like a diesel engine.
He's ahead of schedule right now, because he finished 5th at Wicked Weekend last year.
Oh,
he's ahead of schedule by a full month and a half.
Yeah, but finals. I made some notes here.
Yeah,
and
so
I have something to say. Camden Lime, he was leading the the event semi,
right,
for a while. Really was looking good. Fast. Looked fast. Everything was going into plan, and I don't know exactly what happened. Did the car break? Did he blame out what happened? But had a DNF from, I think it was 3rd at the time, but he was clearly in the lead battle. So that was a big bummer. And I don't think they had a LCQ again. I can't find any results.
Which I really wish they would bring back.
Yeah. I think I'll have a few words of that in the after hours of this podcast. But real bummer for him. Because looking at his laps, looking at everything from that race, he was good. He was solid. So definitely would have deserved to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I need to say is Van Dalen and Sontag, both DNF. They wasn't having as good of a run as Camden, but they were still bumping up, both of them, when they DNF'd. So a bummer for them as well. Now looking at the semis, it was actually a really close split between Cole Tollard and Ogden, and then Setzer of who would go into the main. It was only like 5 seconds? Around 5 seconds. And even then, Hecker was even closer there, but Hecker was in the top 6, so he made it in. But Cole was like the first one kind of to drop, so that must eat him a little bit. Ogden.
Which Cole?
Sorry.
Okay.
Both Cole.
There's 2 Cole. Both Coles, yeah. Both Coles were the first ones to drop. But yeah, I think I'm still like I have to say, reiterate, like Camden, the speed he had, like looking at his laps, average top 5, his run, really, really good. Really good. So
I think he's one of the most, if not the most underrated young racer we have out there. He's getting he's 20 now, I guess. I just wanted to give, before we move on to some more semis, I just wanted to give these guys a shout out because they bumped up from the quarterfinal. And I thought it's pretty good. We have FCJ Chase Lemieux, who doesn't really race Nitro a lot. He bumped up from the quarterfinal odd to the odd semifinal. And Jeremy Litke, who I believe is from Canada as well.
Yeah,
he bumped up. Yeah, and then we had Tyler Fenster, who I think is very impressive in 8 scale. I think he needs to do it more. Jimmy Fishback as well. And then David Olsen, like the sole HB guy out there. Yeah. He bumps up to the semi. Well, so there are other HB guys, but you know what I mean. He bumps up to that semifinal, and I think that's a good result for those guys. Maybe not FCJ because FCJ wants to be in the main, but I think for those guys, that's a great result making that semifinal. That's a victory for them. Obviously, they want to make a final, but that's steps that they make to get into that 60-minute final. Long time to race.
Yeah, it's a long time. The pit strategy was interesting. Everybody kind of succumbed and said they're just going to go 7.5. Dakota went. I think the number has to be around 8.5 to cut a stop.
Yeah, 8:35 or something.
And so they were kind of pushing it. They did some a little longer and some a little shorter. I counted that he went on the first one. They tried to go a long just to see how much it was, to see if they had 10 in the tank maybe. Because he kind of went long on the first stop, and then
he went
started going short
in the first one. Yeah, I was thinking that he would go 10 because he went over 9. Like he was 9 and he went past the line.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I'm glad you caught that. But I started checking his stops, so he got on a little bit of an off schedule. I really noticed by the time we got to like 30 minutes in, there starts to be a point where each driver has the same number of pit stops remaining and the advantage is lost. And so you really have to, during that first, between 10 minutes and 30 minutes is where you have a gap where you're only stopping, the other person's going to stop 3 times and you're going to stop 2 times. And then, depending on how they stretch it, I just noticed Finn was a little on his back foot and had lost the advantage by the time we got to about 35 minutes. And his pit windows were starting to get closer and closer to Ryan's, to where he didn't have, as far as stops remaining, he didn't have an advantage anymore after you go past halfway. So I thought that was an interesting thing. He
was making too many mistakes.
Yeah, some mid-race mistakes, but gosh, they just stayed all glued together. I know the gap expanded to about 11 to 13 seconds and then shrunk back to like 6. But as far as the first 2 cars were really close together, and they just were kind of towing Spencer around. And then they got to a point where all 3 of them were lapping 4th place after Mason had fallen out with Fee, to where they were checked out. I think that's why Spencer was so crushed, because he, thought they had 3rd in the bag. And he's like, I could have even maybe pushed into 2nd. When Fenn started making some mistakes because he was within striking distance. So that was a heartbreaker.
Yeah. Same as Silver State, man. Silver State, he was so fast. Then he broke the shock screw by hitting that Marshall. They hit that Marshall's foot. He was up to 3rd. Yeah, it was when he flamed out. That's when you was talking about earlier about the rock coming out. I really felt bad for him because I thought he was good. I thought he could have got up to 2nd as well. So unfortunately,
I think like he was like a pit stop away from 2nd, because when Fenn pitted, Spencer was in 2nd for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And considering the amount of mistakes Fenn made, and I think at the best point he was under 10 seconds of Maifoeld. So like realistically not a shot at the win, but theoretically he was in the fight for a win, in my opinion. And I was really surprised because in the beginning it looked like, it's Fuller, it's Fee. Because at one point, actually, Fee caught Maifoeld, crashed, caught Maifoeld, crashed, caught Maifoeld again. Kept pushing Maifoeld, but not getting by. So at that point, I thought, like, no one can come from behind. But about halfway through, Spencer shows up in second. So I was just a little surprised watching it, but yeah, like you said, I mean, I'd be crushed because he was kind of in the shadows the whole race, and then as soon as he gets there, he like was it just that one flame out, and then that's
yeah. It? He said he crashed one more time, and he's like, I was so upset that I flipped upside down and I gassed it all the way, and then so he's like, that one was my fault. He was in like 8th place and he fell down, so it hurt his top 25 RC ranking a little, but he said, yeah, the second one was on me. The first one was just a phantom. I landed in the perfect spot on a rock on that jump and killed it. So that stinks.
Yeah. Did you think at so I recall the battle between Little Bump and Maifoeld. He was really, really pushing Maifoeld at some points. Like he had to slam on brakes like completely at one point, not to hit Maifoeld. At that point, did either of you feel that he could do it? Like he could win this?
I didn't necessarily think he was going to win. I think it's just a matter of time that he's going to win one of these. I think right now, kind of in the phase, he's went from getting in there and now he's racing up front for the part of the race. This is when the races get long and having the package that, the diffs thin out. If your engine tune isn't perfect, once you get it hot, you're driving the whole track, just barely touching the trigger because it gets super lean and really hard to drive. So he was pretty impressive. Like they had the car had speed, and he had speed to spare, as you could say, in the early part of the race. So, I mean, that's something positive for them to work off of, but you got to put it together for the long races. And so it's the only time you can practice it is when you're in it, because you can't really recreate those conditions.
13. He has time. He is 13. What about Maifoeld, man? And Tekno getting their first buggy national win. I think I said this the other day. I was talking to Lance. I think that Mayfield's racecraft is like probably the best in the 818 scale industry in America. I don't know. We'll see how it compares when it comes to Europe in September. But man, Maifoeld seems to be able to will these races to a win. So this is now his he swept it. This is his third win of the year, third big 8 scale win. He won PMB and Silver State, I think. So,
yeah.
Maifoeld making that Tekno look good, but also I think his package is good, but his race mentality, his racecraft is superb right now.
Yeah. I mean, he's really good. I mean, not everyone in the industry gets to do this, but, I've raced with Ryan for a long time. Back when we'd do electric, we'd stay after and test. So I could go drive his car after the race, when he wins the Cactus Classic. And it's just like, he's really good at setting up something that's fast in the turns, but easy to drive. He doesn't like a hard to drive car, but he knows how to make it steer. And I think going to Tekno has made his nitro game probably a little stronger because they only want him to run one class or one category, where he's only running the 8 scale. So you can see like he kind of underperformed at the 10 scale worlds. And I mean, the guy still, he can drive, but it's car plus driver plus, the package. And the more time he puts into this, he does really well. I mean, he's a scary guy to have only racing nitro and have to go race a nitro race against him. Whereas, Rivkin's winning the 10 scale buggy nationals. At BenchRC, he TQ'd in 1 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive, or Aiden TQ'd. Sorry about that, Aiden. But, the associated guys were dialed in, and we ended up winning 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive at that race. And then go back and go run, Silver State and all these other ones. So it's a lot to be split between dialing in different categories of cars. But, I mean, Ryan's fantastic. I mean, he even mentioned, I don't know if other people pick up the post-race interviews, but he talked about how they switched the shock towers. And I know when he got on Tekno, one of the first things you saw, like last year, was the split shock towers. And then he said actually for this track, they had switched back to their kit shock towers, which are more rigid. And that was one of the things he pointed out. But he's really good. He understands nitro engines. And that RM engine, I raced that last year. And it's probably the best nitro engine I've ever used up there with that one. And I've driven I'm actually going to run the Reds Gen 4 for the rest of this season. And I've driven Spencer's. And those are the two best nitro engines I've run. So they both have, just amazing feel, power for the jumps, and throttle. The throttle is really good. So I'm pretty pumped on those. I haven't driven the Ultimates, but obviously you can see how many people that have done well with them with Fend, and Camden Lime runs that engine, and obviously they got that thing, dialed in. It's OS based. So,
okay. Well, I know you got to run, but I want to comments on two people before I guess we'll let you go, and then me and Max will continue. Dakota Fenn, who had a very good 2023, not having the best 2024 here in 8 scale. Hasn't got a win yet in 8 scale. What is your engineer eye seeing out there with his car?
Oof. It works good. He's the fastest car out there.
Mm-hmm.
The guy, he's the phenom. Just for like raw talent and reflexes, the guy is fantastic. I think to his own detriment, honestly, he can go fast with something that's maybe a little harder to drive. So if he's under a lot of pressure, and a lot of Maifoeld and other guys and Spencer have found some more speed to really pressure him, it's a little hard to hang on to a car that's not quite perfect. Whereas if he checks out and gets out front, when the fastest car gets a big gap on people, he's impossible to catch. So I think the key with him is when he gets out front and drives away from everyone, he's untouchable. So the other guys try to really put some pressure on him and race him. But huge respect. The guy's got crazy talent. I'm not going to give him any insider tips to have him beat us by worse. He's already hard enough to beat. But he's a great talent. And really impressed me, even though he didn't win. He was just scary fast by how bad he was beating people in buggy that you just shake your head.
Impressive. And one last person, Mason Fuller, another one that very good driver, looking for that first big nitro win. Was very good her.
If you look at the last few nationals, Mason's, it's been Dakota, Ryan Maifoeld, Fuller, and Rivkin, 1, 2, 3, 4, almost every year. So, and we were looking like that again. So, he's been really impressive. They did the S-Works cars. Everyone kind of knew the HBs were handling really good. The electric buggy with him was pretty impressive. Like, he won the AMS race that I was at, and just looked untouchable there. Spencer ended up getting second in e-buggy, but they've made the transition to other chassis, and they've done a few races and already got it sorted out to where he's going fast. So he's one of the phenom young talents. Also shout out Texas Brandon Rose. He's been putting in the time. Traveled to a ton of races, and he picked up the pieces and got a P4 after Fuller and Rivkin fell out. So the guys racing down in our neck of the woods did great, with Fee out of Louisiana and Brandon out of Houston. When we go to races out here, the series races and stuff, they're pretty fast. Having those guys blow everybody away.
All right. I guess I want to ask you about Rivkin real quick. What he has to do to get to, what does he have to do to beat a Maifoeld?
Oh, it's hard. We won that TNR race, which was a head-to-head at the DNC track against Maifoeld. A different layout where they showed up and got to go through the weekend, and we were kind of struggling with the new car release, getting a really good package, but we did the 4.1 testing and development. I did it locally, and then we did a trip out to Paris in California and kind of learned some lessons, because that's where Billy, Hayden, and Richard Saxton had kind of been doing the club racing and the series out there. So we did a big test session. I went out there in January, and we were just going to try to get the season off to a better start, and learn some lessons and got some really good direction out there. And it translated into getting the win in that TNR race final over Maifoeld head-to-head. I know that, unfortunately, it's like every time you beat somebody like Maifoeld, he's going back to the drawing board trying to get better and learn lessons, and everybody's pushing each other to do well. But that was great for Spencer. And then he was able to translate that to beat Maifoeld at DNC and get the third overall. He was hoping to be in it for the win, but I think they just kind of missed the mark on the package a little bit for the car speed. But obviously, when you beat everybody else but 2 cars, you got doing something right. So it was a real positive season for us, launching the new B 4.1. And we had ran the prototype parts at the AMS event in November last year when we went out to the AMS. Spencer and I ran some of the new parts and the new shock towers and stuff. And then we kind of stay in touch and put all the pieces together. So I feel like it's been a good year. The new cars are doing well for us, and it's really just putting the pieces together for every kind of surface, because like you go to the race time events, the Wicked Weekend, the PNB and those, and you're going to get a little different type of a more indoor track like I run on, where we traditionally do pretty well and have a good package for that. But, this year's focus was doing well at Silver State and DNC and some of the races out in Arizona.
Okay. I have one question, and then we're going to let you go. I know you got to go. So we got the Worlds coming up in September. Do you want to see an American driver win, or a team associated car win?
Oh, well, I'm always pulling for associated. It's been great. Davide obviously got the back-to-back title. We worked on that project. The first one was with the B3.1 in Australia, and then the B4, the 3.2 was obviously kind of during that period where we had to skip a World's year. And then the B4, TJ Eller was the lead on that, and he and I worked on the development. So it was great to get the win with the car there. Davide loved it, and then we did the 4.1, and I got to be in touch with him. And he's kind of taken some of the clues and the stuff that we've learned and put it on with his Euro setup, and he's done really well with it. He did the Philippine race win, and then even the e-buggy Euros with the 4.1 e-buggy. He and I talked back and forth, and I sent him some tips on what I thought he should change after I watched the videos. And so he's kind of adopted a hybrid and taken some lessons, and he's running the universal joints instead of the CVAs that he ran on the last package. So we're kind of just pushing.
So what you're trying
everything
to say is you think he can go three in a row? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, that's what if I'm a betting man, I'm betting on that. But I know the hardest part, like I said, is you have these other top guys, and every time you send them packing, they're going back to the drawing board trying to push the envelope. So we pushed everything forward with the 4.1. So I think he's going to be showing up with a better car and a better package than last time. Obviously, the big switch to Matrix tires. I don't know if they quite have as dialed in of a package as that AKA double down tire just had some magic for the long races.
Do you think an American can win it? How about that? How about the American? I think they're going to be in a better position this year than they were in 2022.
I think this is the best chance for American to win in Europe because it's the same place they've already been before. I mean, the track is so big, so fast, and they're going to all be showing up at the point where the car was the best last time and working off of that. So I mean, obviously, you've got Maifoeld and Fend would be my number one, number two. Spencer really learned some stuff. He kind of struggled there, jumping between the America and the Europe setup last time, and so we've got a lot of lessons learned since then. So obviously, he's a multi-world champion driver, and then you got somebody like, I don't know if Fuller went to the last Worlds.
He did.
Obviously, great driving talent, and you've got those guys that are all at the top. But I think you could also see more Americans in the main. Like you go down the list and you say like Cav, Wiggins, Lutz, those guys that have been there before would be a lot better shot to get in the main. I know Ogden was in the main last time with the other car, so I don't know if he's I'm not sure if he's full time or doing it, but obviously everybody that's been there before and done all the laps is gonna have a real shot. So I'm cheering for everybody from America, but just looking at the results, it's Ungaro and Knaus and Ronafalk. It's hard to overcome how much laps they have there. And Boots, I think, did Boots win the Euros that was there like 5 or 6 years ago?
He won the Euros there, and he just won the Italian race against Ungaro and others this past weekend too.
Yeah, I mean, the competition level's through the roof, and that's where every one of those guys can drive. So it's really car plus driver, which goes into the package of having the tires, the tire selection, the car selection, and then putting it together and getting a qualifier package and a main package. I mean, it gets to be like F1. You're running qualifying on a certain tire, and then, the F1 cars, they go qualify, and then they put in the whole, 60 laps worth of fuel and have to revamp everything. And it's the same thing for, you got to prepare for the Sunday. The main event is the one you want to win.
Sweet. Max, we're going to let Coach go.
Yep.
Because he's got to go. Thank you, Coach. We enjoyed the discussion with you, but a lot of great insight. We're going to have you back on her again after one of these big races.
Yeah, we'll come back. I'm not going to the Worlds or anything, so just racing around here and working on the future product development. So everything's excited, and we're sending Brent and the whole team of guys and Craig Drescher out there to support the AE team in Europe. And it's going to be exciting.
Can't wait. I can't wait. Max, you want to say anything to Coach before he goes?
Not really, but it's really nice having you on the podcast. I don't think we ever really talked apart from like over messages. So it was good from that standpoint as well.
Yeah, and we aren't talking about setups, we're talking about racing. So
yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah, I can't give away all our secrets and all of our inside info, but we got it dialed in, and I always publish all the stuff that I run locally and just try to help out everybody that hasn't associated, because I mean the end goal is we like winning, but I want all the customers to have a fun time driving their car because it's the coolest sport, and I don't want people out there doing donuts. I want them to have fun going over the jumps and laps and improving, because RC racing is the best, man. It's fun.
I can agree with you there. I love this shit. All right, Coach. Thank you for your time. We greatly appreciate it. You have a good day.
We'll
and we're sorry we kept you so long.
Yeah, I'll see you later. I'm gonna sign out, and you guys have a great rest of the show. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All righty, Max. Thank you to Coach for his time. It was great chatting with him. We're going to go on to the big winners and losers part of this podcast on our conclusion. That is brought to you by Tekno Rc and Hot Race Tires.
Tekno Rc. Tekno Rc is a championship-winning manufacturer of high-performance A-scale, 10-scale, nitro, and electric RC buggies and trucks. With a worldwide dealer network, USA and Europe-based headquarters, comprehensive warranty program, and global race support, Tekno Rc is excellence in RC. View the full lineup of Tekno RC race-proven vehicles by visiting www.teknorc.com.
Alrighty, thank you, Tekno RC and Hot Race, for all your continued support. Hot Race Tires, a big supporter of the podcast. If you're interested in getting set up with some Hot Race tires, we have links for that, all of that in the written description of the podcast. And this week we bring you the Hot Race winners and losers of the Raw Nationals. And Max, we have some things to talk about her after our great conversation with the coach. I think you enjoyed that. I enjoyed it too.
That was good. I like how technically he approaches RC.
You know what? And I can listen to him, unlike when you start going. And I'm just like, mind you, my wife was messaging me while I was doing that as well. All right. So up for our Hot Race winners and losers. We're going to start with the brands. So you wrote down some notes. You had winners. Tekno, obvious. Like, congratulations to them. I know they've been trying for a long time to get this buggy title. I know people say, well, they got Truggy titles and e-buggy titles, but
yeah, I mean, those are If you haven't won a Nitro Buggy title and you want to be a 8-scale off-road manufacturer, you're kind of like you have to have that if you want to be like a prestigious manufacturer.
Absolutely. So congratulations to them. I know it's been a long road coming, and well done to them, and of course Ryan Maifoeld for making it happen. You have Kyosho as their best Raw National since Tebow left. Absolutely.
Yeah,
little bump for third.
Two cars in the main, little bump podium, and I sincerely thought he had a shot at the win.
Mm-hmm.
Now looking back, I think he was overusing his tires in the beginning. That's why he was
I agree with you.
And where Maifoeld was kind of just keeping his pace, making sure he'll have a car for the end. And that in the end, he was probably the fastest. But for the first, let's say, 20, 30 minutes, Maifoeld was like the 5th fastest guy out there. But in the last 10 minutes, last 15 minutes, he was definitely the fastest guy out there. So
racecraft, dude.
Racecraft. That's what he did. And that's something that I kind of wanted to say as well. But yeah, because I think 100% what Kurt said about Lil Bump, I think he just drove as fast as he could. Tires went a bit bold. Car doesn't feel as good anymore, and he can't use all of that, especially because the way the Kyosho drives, the way he drove, like you need a lot of forward bite, and when your tires go bold, you kind of lack that. But yeah, like third at the Nationals, that's a really good result. And
absolutely
the speed he showed, he was looking at lap times. You could argue that he was faster than Fend. You know, you could say an argument that his speed was better than Fend's. But I mean, obviously, I think I'd put Fend over him. Still, like in terms of speed, but he was really close there.
Yep. All right. As for losers, Mugen, no cars in the main. I would say so, but that's okay.
I mean,
know
it's kind of a given. It's kind of a given, but they had Cole, which I mean is another loser.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And they have FCJ. So
and Drake was in the semis.
Yeah, Drake was there. So I mean, they're still putting a lot of effort, but they are not there anymore. It's kind of like
have that Mayfield to put them in that final a minute.
Yeah. But you remember that back at one time you had multiple Mugens running in top fives. Denny was there, Mayfield was there. Before them, Ogden was there. So yeah.
And unfortunately for our sponsor of this segment, Hot Race, no Hot Race tires in this main final.
I think there was
dominated by J Concepts, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, granted, they're like if Hot Race would like pay a guy to run their tires, for sure they'd have many in the main. But I think J Concepts just like dominates the American market. It's really hard to get a foot in. And Camden, really fast.
Right. He was the fastest Hot Race guy.
Yeah.
Fastest hot race guy.
So it's not like they were struggling, but looking at the results, it looks like
They just
were.
don't have the amount of top drivers.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say. I think it was all J Concepts besides Cavalier. 80 pounds on Proline, Heckerts on promotion, yes. And
Cavaliers on TGO and 18 some Proline. I think those are the only three. Oh, Lutz is AK.
And they debuted a new tire there as well.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
All right, medium team associated glimpses of good, but 3 cars at the bottom of the main isn't the best look. Yeah, but I think with Spencer's,
I mean, granted, both Aiden and Spencer had a DNF or like technical issues, so it's not really a representative. But considering how much potential the AE team could have in 8 scale, like looking at Ongaro and all that, it's like we should see an AE in the top 3 more often. That's like my argument here. I don't think they're losers.
We've seen Rickman in the top 3, top 5. But we heard the story with that. I was pretty shocked not to see like a Jonah Wilson in the final here.
He was close. He also had a DNF. He qualified within like top 14. So I think he was. He was 17th. But either way,
one away from the 16 into the semis. All right, let's go to the drivers. Big winner, obviously Maifoeld, back to winning race. Some may say he never left, but I mean, if you look at this year, we had B Rose win SIC, Boots win DNC. He won PMB. He won Silver State. Then he goes back to back here. I mean, Mayfield's just doing Mayfield things, man.
Yeah. I think I still have to like say this because I think it is a fact. Granted, like I don't think anyone really would put any sort of negativity or I don't see this as a criticism, but I just see this as a fact. Maifoeld definitely wasn't the fastest guy, and put Canas, put Ongaro, and put Boots on that track. Mayfield's not winning.
Oh shit!
You know,
shit.
No, but what I'm saying is, if Fend would have run a solid 60 minutes, Maifoeld wouldn't have won.
As fast as he was.
Yeah,
he was very fast.
So it's kind of like
racecraft.
I know, but this is kind of like he did enough to win, and obviously it's like that's what you got to do. But I'm looking here like for the Worlds, obviously, because if this was any other year, if this was like Worlds at Paris, I wouldn't be saying any of this. But because I know the Worlds will be at Redovan, and I know Maifoeld still needs, or at least he wants, a Worlds win. I don't think he necessarily needs one, but he definitely wants a Worlds win in 8 scale. I don't think like I'd be confident after this result. I'd be happy. I think he deserves to win 100%, and he fought for that. But I wouldn't be like confident for the Worlds. Like I wouldn't be like, okay, really? No, I wouldn't. So definitely.
You didn't listen to the last podcast, did you? And I told you that the Balders are now running J Concepts. So the earners of Redovan are now running.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
You haven't talked about it on the podcast, me and you.
Yeah, but
I think that this gives. I think Maifoeld goes into Wicked. It might go to RC Pro Am, which will be it'll be a challenger race, but Wicked Weekend will be the next big race that all these guys get together. I think Maifoeld he should win that, but I think we'll see. But I think out of the Americans that can win the Worlds, Maifold is one of them. Maifold and Fenn, right?
Oh no! I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Maifold cannot win the Worlds. I'm saying that when he won those big races in a row with Mugen, all of them in that 1 year, if the Worlds were held in Europe, I wouldn't be even surprised if he just dominated the world. But I think right now he's not on the level yet, speed wise, because even he said,
okay, speed wise. Okay.
Yeah, because even he said himself that he had nothing to lose before going into the main. He took a gamble on tires. He took the hardest tires he hadn't run before. He took a gamble on tires to win. Like if you're a driver that's confident and able to like win the world, you shouldn't need to gamble to win. Like
it wasn't a gamble. It was an audible. Like they said, let's go to the harder tire. It wasn't necessarily a gamble.
Okay. But
audible.
It wasn't.
Audible. You know what an audible is, right?
I have no idea what that
so
is.
Audible is a term that's used in American football. It's mean to like we're gonna change a play. So an audible will happen when like on the line, you know how they line up and they do that before they hit the ball, and the quarterback will make an audible play where he'll say a word and then they'll switch everything around, right?
Okay,
so they know. So that's what an audible is called. It's not gambling. It's just they made a different.
Yeah.
But I get what you're trying to say there. I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah. It's just like my point isn't that Mayfield's not good or he doesn't. Actually, he talking about top 25, like he wouldn't deserve the number one spot.
I think he's number one ATL driver right now.
I think Ongara is in front of him, but that's debatable. But my point really
is this past weekend.
I don't know what happened, but
at the Italian race, boots one.
Okay, my point here is that he definitely isn't going home like, oh yeah, I got this now. Like I don't need to do anything. He'll still be feeling like there was something was still missing. You know, something is still missing, and I think that's all. But granted, he's like this level he's at right now. He's able to win races. He's not able to win comfortably, but he's able to win races. Like you've seen every single post race interview this year. I've never seen Mayfield that exhausted. In the past 10 years, I've never seen him that exhausted.
The competition's getting hard, Max.
It is. I know. I'm not saying that because Fend hasn't been probably ever as fast as he is now. So,
all right. Winners, Little Bump, most definitely first national level podium for him. This type of stuff I'm expecting from Little Bump. Do I expect him? No, I think what his next goal should be is to try and be in the top 5 at this next weekend. These mains, the goal should be someone's drilling something great. The goal should be top 5s, top 3s wins, obviously, So I think that's the next expectation. Do I expect him to go out there and win the next race? No. He's 13 years old. I tell everybody that. I have to agree with Brandon Rose. A great 4th for him. Officially one of the top 5 drivers in America. I would definitely have him up there.
Yeah.
Like I think Brandon Rose can go to. I think Brandon Rose. I would not be surprised if Brandon Rose won the Wiki Weekend.
Yeah, right? I think if you look at past 12 months now of Brandon Rose's career, I think it's like there isn't a race where there isn't a point in time where he was completely out of it. He's consistently around the top 5, fighting for top 3s, and as proven already this year, able to have an occasional win. So I think like this consistency he's had this year, he's now like he doesn't like what Kurt said before, that these guys Rivkin and Mayfield, they don't need to worry about making it to the semi. Well, I think
they have to worry about making to the final because they can bump up.
They don't need to worry about making the final because they're always there. They're fast enough that unless they have a technical, they will be there. And you have to be at a top 5, level in each continent or whatever to say that. And I think crossing that border, consistently being in the top 5, I think that's a very big step. And I think Rose has now taken it. Not like just this event, but like he has proven enough times now that I think we can expect him to always be there. Kind of like Fuller and Fend and Mayfield.
All right. And honestly, I did not know. I might have forgotten, but Cavallari in this sparkly Sparko of top 5.
Yeah,
national.
that's crazy. And also,
I'm telling you.
And also, it's not only Sparker, it's also TTO and Nova engines. So it's not like
for all 3 of those companies.
Yeah, I don't think TTO has ever gotten. I think this might probably be their first national domain.
No, Phil made it last year.
Oh yeah, true. Okay, scratch that. But either way, first like this big of a result for them. I think easily. And I mean, engines probably not that big of a deal. And Nova Rossi, they have such a big history that it's not like that big of a thing. But for Sparko, for sure, that's a huge result. And I think for Cavallari, because he wasn't like he got lucky and finished 5th. He had some decent pace. He was like he was right up there with. He was faster than Wiggins and Lutz and all those guys. So.
He got up to 4th. You know who I want to add to this list real quick, and then we're going to move into losers. Joey Bardon.
Yeah, I agree.
Directly, very good result for him.
Yeah, he made it into the main. Yeah, I think he's one of those guys who, we was talking about Van Dalen and Heckert. Jones was in the conversation a few years back. I think Bourdon is now at that level where these guys were 2 years ago, and you can see now Van Dalen and these. Probably. Yeah, you could argue that, but point being that it might be quite soon that we might see like a standout performance from Bourdon, and because he's making these mates all the time now.
Absolutely, losers. Finn should have had this. I think he would be upset with us. I shouldn't say upset. No wins coming out of this.
When you are a second faster per minute, which is half a second faster per lap, which he was in qualifying. He TQ'd rounds with 10-second gap to the second guy. So he's a half a second faster than the rest of the field over 10 minutes. Or every lap over 10 minutes. And you don't win. I think like I mean, I would go home and be depressed if that was the case. Like, it must be tough for him mentally.
He doesn't have an 8-scale win.
I mean, sure, not having an 8-scale win, not a big deal. But the way he doesn't have an 8-scale win, the thing that he's the fastest guy at every single race and still can't win. I mean, there must be a fucking gorilla at his back at this point, because it's the way Maifoeld wins too. It's like he's clearly at his limit, but he still seems to always come out on top. Yeah, Fend is struggling in that sense, but granted, he was
watch him
yet
win
again.
Wicked weekend. Loser.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Loser. I thought he was going to make it. I thought he's going to make it.
I thought so too.
He just missed out. So probably his best performance all year, getting close to making the main. I've heard this constantly, but I did hear coming out of her that I think this is his last year. I think he's doing a couple more races and that's it. Which is unfortunate because he's very talented. But I get it, man. You gotta make money in this, and if you're not gonna get paid for what you do, at the same time, you also gotta have some results. And we already talked about this with the HB stuff and all that there. So not so worried about that.
Yeah, it's just crazy the downfall of 2019 at RCGP. Me and Joseph, we was talking like Cole is actually almost as fast as David. He's running consistently. He's actually putting a battle on David. Then still at the World in 2022, made the main. One of the few Americans who made the main. That's a tough thing to do. And then
And you know what? If he goes to the Worlds,
retired.
I would not be surprised if he goes to the Worlds and makes the main. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know. I think like considering. Well, I mean, obviously, I don't know what's behind the nationals. Like, was there something that really hindered him at this nationals? Like,
I don't know.
Car set up something, but
no idea.
I mean, if you can't make the nationals main, it's gonna be really, really tough to make the world's main.
You never know. He was very close to making the nationals main. Very close. And I have to agree with Schmedium on Fuller. I thought he was going to do it. I say this almost every race, but
yeah,
man, he's going to get it. He's going to get it. I talked to his dad. His dad was pissed off at Roar because they DQ'd Caden.
Yeah, actually, I saw that too.
Yeah. So yeah, I
want to talk about Fuller a bit too. Cause
go ahead. Let's talk about Fuller. You have about 2 minutes according to my new maps.
Yeah, you gotta bring those things out.
Yeah, I got 3 minutes. You got 2.5 minutes.
So Fuller was the first one to crash in the main. He crashed after 2 minutes behind Fend. He fell back, got up to second again, crashed almost immediately again. Might have even led for a bit, crashed. Clearly the fastest of anyone, even faster than Fend. And I'm able to say this confidently because after he had his flame out, I don't know exactly how his flame out happened, but
I think he ran out of fuel.
Yeah, I'm almost like that. I was about to say that.
I think his dad said they were pushing that pit to like 9 something.
Yeah, so I was about to say that I don't want to blame him, but I kind of have to blame him, even though I don't know. But now that you said that, it's kind of his fault that he ran out of fuel, which is sometimes a silly thing to say. But the way he drove, kind of overdriving, too many risks, mistakes all the time. It was like at no point I believed that he was going to win, even though he was ridiculously fast. And you ask how fast? Well, okay. You want to know what Mayfield's fast lap was? It was the 33.1. Guess what Fuller's lap was? It was a 30.7.
That's like almost 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Or more than 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Fuller's top 15 average is faster than anyone's best lap in the main. So Fuller did 15 laps. Now it's faster than anyone else could do in the main. Granted, almost all of these happened after his flame out. And that 30.7, he only had one lap under 31, but he had plenty of 31s, which is still 1.5 seconds faster of what these guys were running. So, yeah, the speed he has is insane. The potential he has is insane. But he qualified. Where did he even qualify? He qualified like 4th. He did pretty well in the semi, but in the main, he was like kind of played himself out all the time. And I don't want to be too harsh on him because obviously, you're still young. He has the speed. He can do well the way he does now. But there's clearly like something missing. And it's like I think he could be faster even than Fend, which is ridiculous to say. But he doesn't have the base package that Fend has to execute it at all times. And then on top of that, he doesn't have the same racecraft that Maifoeld has, which Fend has neither. But that's why I think Fuller hasn't got that first win yet, because there's two big things missing from his race package.
Both of those he can make up for. He can get developed.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, and that's why I kind of have to say these, because I think he can do both of those things if he chooses to. But I think he kind of doesn't want to commit to RC that much, or put.
I think
so
it's
much
fully
time
committed.
into it.
I think it's fully committed. I think
he's full. I think he's fully committed, but he's not like.
This is what he does full time.
Work. Yeah, but it's not like he's working endlessly for RC.
I think his dad would disagree with you. I'm sure I'm gonna get a message after this.
Maybe, but I think like I don't know. I just get the vibe that he kind of practices when he has time and when he wants to. Whereas I think
he's been traveling. He's been going to do a lot of stuff. I think he's doing the work that's needed to get to where you think he needs to be.
I might be wrong. I think
I could be wrong. 100% wrong.
Well, I wouldn't say 100%, but that's something I don't know. So I could be wrong about that.
On that, I think he's working hard, but you can always work harder, right? You can always work harder.
Yeah, and if he's working hard and he still has these issues, then he should be working smarter.
There we go. All right. We're gonna go on. We have a slight little rant, not really a rant, but a question for the Bench Racing Q&A, brought to you by BenchRC.
BenchRC.com, the racer's one-stop online hobby shop. Choose from all the popular brands and variety in stock with super fast shipping and great customer service. BenchRC.com still has the local hobby shop feel with all the benefits of the internet. BenchRC.com is the exclusive distributor for Ultimate Racing, S-Works, Pro Circuit Racing tires, Nitro Lux fuels, and Assault RC performance products. So fill up your cart and check out at BenchRC.com today.
That's right. Thank you, BenchRC, for your continued support. I will see the guys at BenchRC in a couple of weeks at RC Program. I can't wait. We have an affiliate link for BenchRC in the written link of this, the written description of this podcast. All right, Max. So I asked this question last year, and they didn't listen. Roar, God damn you. Where is our LCQ?
Yeah. This is the silliest thing
10
ever.
minutes of racing we have. We don't want it?
The
ONROAD thing where ONROAD guys don't like LCQs.
Why? I mean, okay. I don't know. There was a positive swing at Roar, all these things happening, but some things there is still like stuck up in their ass that they haven't gotten out. Like they went to the ER, they took the X-ray, took all the battery stuff out, but then this little really bad piece got left inside, some sharp metal, and now they are just
They're working
on top of everyone.
No, well, they did
this because of this.
They did get reamed a lot this week. I heard for some of the stuff they were doing. Like I heard there were no rules that they weren't. I heard they weren't. If you didn't turn marshal, they just let you turn marshal the next race. There was no real penalty.
Yeah,
I heard stuff like that. I'm not even. Look, you know what? And that's rules. Stick to them and get it done. I am more concerned right now about getting a fucking LCQ back, because I told Clayton last year, I said, dude, LCQ is like one of the most exciting races that you can have, right? I mean, even the International Federation of Men Ranging Treats understand that it's more like a good thing to have.
Stupidest thing. Like
even the fucking old guard over there in Europe understands that the LCQ is important, right?
Well, we had it first, okay. But okay, here's my argument for this, and I think there's no coming back from this. Okay, so Roar went from 7 minutes.
The words that are about to come out of Max's mouth do not represent me.
Oh no! I will be. This will be like civil. I will be very civil, but this is just a debate, bro. Argument. Okay, so they went from Roar rules, so 7 minute qualifiers and this and that and so on, to IFMA rules, 10 minute qualifiers. This many people go there, but they for some reason, instead of, doing it like Ifmar does it for their LCQ, they just didn't do it, and instead bumped up one more guy from the semis. Insane. Like, so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. And I think the single ladder system where you arrive at the venue on Tuesday, you practice on Wednesday, you practice again on Thursday, then you qualify on Friday, then you qualify on Saturday, and then on Sunday you blow a glow block in the warm-up that was brand new, and then it's all gone to shit. No chance to come back. That's exactly
it. LCQs are awesome. I know some people don't like them. If you guys want LCQs back, let us know in the comments wherever you're listening to this.
Yeah. And I even have a much deeper argument of using a double ladder system. So instead of having like the Christmas tree, you have a lower bracket as well. So you have, a quarter, an eighth, a 16th, and then you have a lower bracket. I think it's time to discuss including something like this, because I do think it's unfair that only the guys in the semis get the LCQ. Granted, these guys probably spent the most money and time and effort, but there are some others who do as well.
Dude,
I will leave that for.
I just want an LCQ back. Back. That's all.
I'll leave that whole explanation for another day of how it would work. But at least have a fucking LCQ. Like, I don't know who. Like, I don't want to say any mean words, but a lot of mean words should be said to that guy who decided that there's no LCQ, because that's just dumb. Like, that's just stupidity. There's either way. There's a big gap before the main, so people can fix the cars. Just fucking pop an LCQ there. What the fuck?
I agree. We need an LCQ back. Max, that's gonna wrap it up for us this week. I know you're going to a big race in Vasa this weekend. JQ's going to Ireland, and JQ went to Kyosho Masters. Tell your girlfriend we're almost done in less than 3 hours.
Yeah, I think she's happy because we're done.
Exactly. Well, Max, you have a good time there at your race. We're going to get back together and do a RC news and all that stuff that we haven't done in quite some time. So I greatly appreciate your time today, as well as thank you to Coach Kurt Wenger for his time. We hope you guys did enjoy this podcast, enjoy the recap with Coach. He brought in a lot of great insight. We enjoyed the Raw Nats. Once again, congratulations to Tekno Rc. Ryan Maifoeld and Tekno Rc, as well as J Concepts, Fly Sky, all of Ryan's sponsors. Good job to the HRCR crew for putting on a great nationals. Live RC's coverage was exceptional, was really good. Enjoyed that as well. So good job to them. And even though through all the criticisms, I still think Roar got the job done in the end. But we need an LCQ back. We want to thank everybody. Thank you to Call RC for sending out that mail call to me. I greatly appreciate that. If you guys want to purchase something from Call RC, we have links for that in the written description with a coupon code. Max, it was a good chat, but we got to say thank you to our sponsors and goodbye to everybody now. So thank you to all the NNRC squad around the world. Thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members. We can't do it without you guys. If you wish to become a patron or YouTube member, links for that in the written description. Thank you to our sponsors. We have links for all these affiliate codes, coupon codes where you can save some money. Invisible Speed, High Tech RC, Corsatec USA, Sidewinder Fuel, Mayako, Beach RC, Tekno RC, Clinic RC, Stacked RC, Racecraft USA, Elite RC Productions, and Donathan RC. And a big shout out to all of our affiliate and partner companies. You can find links for all of them in the written description of this podcast. Max, enjoy your race this weekend. Thank you for your time. And I'll see you next week. Good, buddy.
See you guys. It was great being back on the podcast. I haven't been on here a while.
I know. All right, you tree hugger. See you later.